Guys, it's your girl Lonely Brewery. I'm back with another reaction video because by the title I'm reacting to the clip is when outside because they really did go outside.
Easy. This is why it's a series.
Like yo, what was it, like December or January, one of the month? They was going crazy, back to back wins, bro.
You gotta prepare and get ready for the next.
I don't know where that energy
Ty Lue
went.
still has a year left on his contract.
The Los Angeles Clippers have officially been eliminated in the first round, and there are huge questions surrounding them and their future. Multiple of their key players are going to be free agents this offseason. The CBA has completely changed, and there's even questions about whether or not Ty Lue can return. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. We're on the way to 1 million subscribers, and now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro.
Alright.
Doing it. I post my picks for free on Instagram. Mike Chuck 1212. What's going on, everybody? In 2019, the Los Angeles Clippers were reeling on the heels of the falling Lob City era.
Meet Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo. Fargo makes banking faster.
Didn't necessarily have a direction, but things were looking promising. They were considered to be a team that had a tremendous amount of depth and really good role players. Who was on the team around that time? As a matter of fact, their role players were good enough to make a dent in the 2019 NBA playoffs. In Game 2 of the first round of the playoffs, the Los Angeles Clippers completed the largest comeback in NBA playoff history, overcoming a 31-point deficit. Ironically, the Dallas Mavericks almost tied that record during Game 4. The Warriors were able to defeat the Los Angeles Clippers, but with players like Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, Danilo Gallinari, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and coached by a respected head coach in Doc Rivers, the Los Angeles Clippers were seen as an ideal destination.
I'm never gonna lie, I didn't even know he was on the Clippers. What the hell? Like, that was his first team when he came into the league?
Back then, the Los Angeles Lakers were a joke, and they didn't even make the playoffs despite having LeBron James. And the offseason would feature multiple superstars as free agents, like Kyrie Irving and Kawhi Leonard, who was fresh off of winning a championship. Originally, Kawhi Leonard was linked to the Los Angeles Lakers, form a big three with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But in one of the craziest off seasons in NBA history, Kawhi Leonard pulled an intelligent power move. Not only did he decide to sign with the Los Angeles Clippers, but he made sure to wait a few extra days so other key role players could sign with opposing teams, and then he told the Clippers that
I will only sign with you if you trade for Paul George.
The OKC Thunder, knowing that they had all the leverage in the world in this instance, demanded an unprecedented haul from the Los Angeles Clippers in order to get Paul George. And an offer that was so good that it essentially forced the OKC Thunder into a rebuild.
If only they knew how good he played, because the Thunder is like, I ain't gonna lie. If it was like the Clippers versus the Lakers, I kind of figured that. It's sad to say, but I think the Clippers would have lost if they was gonna play against the Thunder.
Danilo Gallinari, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 5 first-round picks, and 2 first-round pick swaps in return for Paul George. And a new era in Clippers basketball was born. At the time, Doc Rivers asked Kawhi Leonard if he was sure that he wanted to give up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because in typical Doc Rivers Captain Hindsight fashion, he predicted that Shai was going to be a very good player. So while the Los Angeles Lakers had all the excitement with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, the Los Angeles Clippers were perceived as the team with the most defensive potential. When you have the 2 best two-way players in the game, the question was, how would you stop Paul George and Kawhi Leonard? Things would get even more interesting because at the conclusion of the first season, the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers would finish in first and second place. Fans everywhere were hoping that these two would meet each other in a heated playoff series, but that never came to be, as the Clippers would suffer an embarrassing 3-1 series comeback versus the Denver Nuggets in the second round of the playoffs. The Lakers would defeat the Nuggets and then the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals, and the rest is history. During the 2020 to 2021 season, the Los Angeles Clippers would finish 4th in the Western Conference. They'd make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals before Kawhi Leonard would get injured, and the Clippers would lose 4-2 to the Phoenix Suns. During the 2021 to 2022 season, Kawhi Leonard would suffer an injury throughout the entire season. And
God damn, he get injured a lot.
The Clippers would finish 8th in the West and would make it in the play-in tournament, but they wouldn't make it to the playoffs. Last year, the Clippers would finish 5th in the West, but both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard would both suffer from injuries in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh my God, bro. I wasn't even a big fan. I wasn't even watching them around that time, and I'm already pissed on how bad. Not even how bad, how much they get injured.
Losing 4-1 to the Phoenix Suns. At this point, the Clippers had this reputation of potentially being a great team when they were fully healthy. But just like the Lob City era, right when it mattered most, the Los Angeles Clippers couldn't get healthy. Originally, the plan was to surround Paul George and Kawhi Leonard with as much depth as humanly possible. But this past year, they decided to take a different approach, opting to sacrifice a large amount of their depth to trade for James Harden. The Clippers would give up Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, KJ Martin, a 2028 unprotected first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, and a 2029 pick swap, and an additional first-round pick.
See, this is when I was watching the Clippers, when all of them was on the team.
To get James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Petrusev. And at first, it didn't really yield the greatest results, but at the very end of the season, the Clippers would finish in 4th place in a load.
I understand that teams gotta break up sometimes and everybody gotta go to different places. I just wish, because the people I like, I just want them to stay on the team. As far as the Grizzlies, bro, I don't even recognize who the Grizzlies are at this point. Like, I don't recognize them. I don't know what team. The roster, everybody feel like they're injured, and I don't know what's going on with the Grizzlies. They stressing me out. They was really stressing me out to the point where I didn't even watch none of the games because I was just so stressed. But I still love the Grizzlies, you know what I'm saying? I think next year gonna be their year. Well, this year it's gonna be their year. You know what I'm saying? Next season it's gonna be their year. But
Western Conference and set them up for a first-round matchup with the Dallas Mavericks. And then history would repeat itself. Once again, Kawhi Leonard would get injured following Game 2 of this first-round matchup. He would play a little bit in Game 3, but he really wouldn't look like himself. So he would get ruled out for Games 4, 5, and 6. And once again, the Clippers had to continue forward without Kawhi Leonard. But luckily for the Clippers, they were prepared for this scenario. This is why they brought in James Harden. This is why Russell...
And they even hardly let PJ play, so y'all might as well take him.
Paul George, but
he might as well go to another team.
It wouldn't be enough to defeat Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. They'd lose in embarrassing fashion at their home court in Game 5, and in Game 6 on the road, they wouldn't fare off much better. And now there are questions about the future of several of their key pieces. Kawhi Leonard already has signed a contract extension and has already voiced that he hopes that the Clippers bring back Paul George. Tyronn Lue has 1 more year left on his contract, but there's a huge question of whether or not he'd want to continue coaching this team when it's always yielding the same exact result year after year after year. But Adrian Wojnarowski actually gave a glimmer of hope for Clipper fans.
Malika, I don't believe it's realistic based on this. Ty Lue still has a year left on his contract, and the Clippers are determined to do a long-term deal with Ty Lue, I'm told. You know, they want him to...
Navan's business travel platform?
This is why I hate when people, if you don't sign that contract, bro.
See, I've been in the great
to be their coach for a very long time. And so listen, that's a conversation that will happen after the playoffs are over. But they love the job he did this season. They love the job that he's done there. This is an organization that, by all indications, however this series ends up, wants to re-sign Paul George, James Harden, try to improve that roster around those two, of course, and Kawhi Leonard, and that Ty Lue will still be the coach for them.
Apart from that, James Harden is about to hit free agency, and there's a question about how much money he's going to demand from the Los Angeles Clippers. He famously got into a dispute with Daryl Morey, where he called him out in public for not meeting his salary demands.
Daryl Morey is a liar. Will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
And probably the biggest threat to leave their roster is none other than Paul George. Paul George is an LA native, and from the most part, he seems very happy to be a Los Angeles Clipper. But at this point, you've been with the Clippers for 5 seasons. There's only so many times you could run it back with the same team and get the same result where your co-star isn't able to make it throughout the playoffs, especially when your services are wanted by other destinations. If the Clippers aren't able to give Paul George a max contract, contract and James Harden doesn't take a bit of a pay cut, you can expect teams like the Orlando Magic to make a huge run at Paul George. Paul George has already stated that he is very far apart with the Clippers on a new deal after Kawhi Leonard signed a 3-year, $150 million extension. Brian Windhorst said on his podcast that it's been 3 months, give or take, and there's been no agreement on Paul George, and the word in the NBA is that they're apart. It's not like let's have a big problem, they're apart. I think the league believes that Paul George wants to remain a Clipper, and there would be a concern in the league about recruiting Paul George, especially if you have to give away players to open up space. My informed speculation is that eventually Paul George will agree to a deal with the Clippers. It may not be for the full max, but it may be for more than what the Clippers have been offering. Bear in mind, Kawhi Leonard took a hometown discount to stay with the Clippers, and this report is from about a month and a half ago. But if you're Paul George right now, what if you could have your cake and eat it too? If there's a team that can offer you a chance to compete for a championship in a much weaker conference, why wouldn't you hop over to the East and try to chase a championship? And also, if you're the Los Angeles Clippers, is it really in your best interest to sign a 34-year-old guard to a max contract when it hasn't worked out so far? According to Brian Windhorst, who said this more recently, there's two teams that are paying very close attention to Paul George, the Orlando Magic and the Philadelphia 76ers, because both of them have the money to throw at him and have a need for a wing, just like him, a veteran guy. Every time I watch the Sixers, I'm like, oh, they could use Paul George. It's just a matter of whether the Clippers are going to give him the max, which is something they don't want to do because they didn't give it to Kawhi. And that's where things get very complicated for the Los Angeles Clippers, because you have 3 stars and you have a brand new CBA that makes it difficult to maintain 2 stars. With the departure of Tobias Harris and multiple expiring contracts for the Philadelphia 76ers, they are set to have $60 million in cap space for the summer, and Paul George would fill a huge position of need for them. In my opinion, the East is significantly weaker than the Western Conference, and it would provide him an opportunity to compete, unless if he's willing to take a pay cut, stay on his hometown LA Clippers. But at the same time, you have to think about it. Los Angeles already has a state income tax. If you're taking a pay cut, you're losing even more money. Whenever a team like the Orlando Magic, for instance, are offering you a max with no state income tax, and whenever you're making upwards of $40 or $50 million, it's a significant chunk of pie that you get
state
to keep
income tax?
in what could be your final max contract. So
Maybe.
things can shake out in a
Contract.
multitude of different ways, and it really depends on how Paul George wants to play out his
Paul,
future.
don't
But for
disappoint me.
now, for the very first time in a very
Matter of fact,
long
don't
time,
irritate me.
the Los Angeles Clippers' future seems very uncertain. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think?
Don't irritate me. You better stay up. Your ass better stay where you at. I don't know why. I don't know if it's an attachment issue, but I just don't like when teams, especially when it don't make sense. Like the Grizzlies, it didn't make sense to me. I'm not even gonna lie. None of it made sense to me. I don't care what nobody say. They should have kept everybody. I don't know who these new people are. They not, something not going on. They need to have a step back. You know what I'm saying? Reevaluate what's going on. Because the Grizzlies, I don't know the last time I even watched a full Grizzly game. I'm not even gonna lie. Because every time they played, I just want to strangle each player, bro. And they always got, bro. I think actually the last game that I watched, it was nothing but rookies playing. Like, everybody was out. Like, it was just nothing but rookies. And I'm like, what team is this? I promise you, I was so confused on who was playing. I'm like, this ain't the Grizzlies. But hopefully this year, the Clippers and the Grizzlies get their acts together, please. But if you guys react, share, know what to do, like, comment, subscribe, turn that post notification bell on so you know when I bring a new video, and I'll see you in my next video.